Hi everybody, it's InvaderZim here, and we are going to be looking at another Starcraft 2 replay. This time I'm hopefully going to be talking to you guys about maybe something that's kind of interesting. I hope it is. I found it interesting. It's going to be about Raven rushing. The last replay that I did got me thinking, and I thought, hey, you know what, that guy Raven rushed, maybe I should try it out. So hopefully this video I'm going to actually try and teach you guys how to Raven rush, because I mean, it's one thing when you can say, oh, I cannon rushed you and you lost, or I 6-pulled and you lost, but it's something entirely different whenever you say, I just Raven rushed you and you lost, and you should just feel ashamed of yourself, because that's just awesome. So up here in the top right corner-ish area is Brazi Blood. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. And he is the red Protoss player. So down here in the bottom left is Roy, who is me, and I'm the blue Terran player. Kind of hard to Raven rush if you're not a Terran player. So I've played about 6 or 7 games trying to Raven rush people, and actually it hasn't turned out that bad. I think I've won like 3 or 4, almost half of the games or something like that. Very interesting. So he is going to be opening up. I should probably get down here because I'm going to try to show you guys just the build order that I did. So basically, you build your guys, you get up to your little 9, and you toss open your supply depot, and then you toss up your barracks, just like you normally would. Now, whenever you toss up your barracks, you want your gas geyser to go up right about now, if not earlier. See, I did it now when my barracks is just starting. It's almost imperative that you do it way before your barracks gets done if you want your Raven to get out at least as early as possible. So probably earlier than I went. Probably the second before you toss your barracks down, you should be saving up. There are going to be times where you're not going to have enough minerals to get out a SCV, which is not a good thing. I know you're always supposed to be having SCVs being produced, the golden rule of StarCraft 2, but we're trying to get that Raven out as soon as possible. Now, as I said, this is going to be from what I've learned and experienced. Some of this may be wrong. I'm sure many of you could expound upon this in many different ways, but this is just what I've figured. So there is his probe, and there is my scout. So we both scouted. One of the things that you want to do is make sure that your guy doesn't see your starport thing go down, or whatever it's called. You want to start up your second gas as well, by the way, after that, because see, I need 100 gas to get my factory up so I can get my starport down. And I wasn't near that, so definitely start your geyser faster. And I know I haven't upgraded my orbital command yet, but that will soon hopefully come. So once you get your second gas up, you should be around where you can get your factory up. Remember, the sooner you get the factory, the sooner you get the starport, the sooner you get the Raven, the sooner the harassment begins. And I'm not really sure what this is. I've never seen this before, but he decides just to run around my base placing pylons and then lose a probe. He cancels them, which I suppose is just for sight, but I don't know, I never really saw a point in it. So remember to keep your SCVs being produced, and lots of people on gas. I think I own, yeah, there I put 2 more, excuse me, losing my voice already, 2 more into gas, and be sure to produce Marines. Now, one thing that I did forget in the build is generally you're supposed to, or at least from what I've experienced, you put a bunker here, because if your enemy rushes you, you definitely want a bunker. You probably will lose if you don't have a bunker out. So your factory should be almost done about when you need your second supply depot, usually, or at least that's the way that it's worked out for me. I may have been doing things wrong, but oh well. So as soon as your factory gets done, you need to start your starport. Unfortunately, I'm pretty slow, so I didn't get it as soon as it got done, but I got somewhere around there, maybe like 5 or 10 seconds lost. Still haven't done my orbital command. You should probably do your orbital command by now. Continually producing Marines. I really should have a bunker here, because especially if you're going to do this build, which I think is just fun and, you know, whatever, but if you scout your enemy and he's doing some kind of cheese, This is not going to help you out at all. This is not going to work against a cannon rush or a 6-pool or anything like that. If anything like that happens, it should be pretty easy to, as long as you scout it, it should be pretty easy to stop right where it stands. I forgot to mention, as soon as your starport gets halfway done, open up your tech lab on your factory, and they will complete at the exact same time. So definitely start your, or earlier if you have the spare minerals, and then swap those out. And as soon as you should be doing something SCV, there you go. Get back to work, you lazy bum. Continually making marines because you want that bunker filled soon. That I don't have. And then as soon as the starport goes down, make your raven. Yay! Make sure you're not supply blocked either, because that would kind of be a bummer. And there you can research the seeker missile, but I found out that the seeker missile isn't near as devastating on the mineral lines as I thought it would be. They usually only take out about 4 or 5 probes at most, and I thought that like maybe 2 of them could take out like all of the probes, but it doesn't work that way. So it's probably best that you don't. If you want to, by all means, go for it. Finally, I've gotten my orbital command up. It took me long enough. Goodness gracious. Continually producing marines. Now, one thing to note is that the ravens are not going to win it for you. The ravens are going to screw with your enemy. The ravens are going to screw up your enemy's economy. Your ravens going to screw up your enemy's position. The ravens are not going to win the game for you. So you have to make sure that you macro up an army. The army is extremely important. You cannot win alone with just ravens, even if you're a boss. I'm sorry for any of you who thought that you were going to win with just like 2 ravens. My bad. Unless, of course, you just screw with your enemy's economy so bad that they just rage quit. And if you do that, good for you. Congratulations. So you could go and harass with this raven, but I found that it's best just to wait for 2 ravens. I know your time's ticking, and they're probably going to be ready. As I said, your enemy usually has a decently charged army by 7 minutes, if not bigger than that. That's the reason why I really should have that bunker up, if not 2 bunkers by now. Probably 2. So as soon as this raven comes out, I'm going to send those 2, because each auto turret costs about 50, or cost 50 exactly, energy. And as soon as that raven comes out, by the time that you got there, you would be lucky to be able to toss down 2 auto turrets. You'd be really lucky. Usually you'd only be able to toss down 1, depending on how far away your enemy's base is. But if you're waiting with the first one and the second one gets there, usually by the end you can hopefully toss around 3 or 4 out by the time you get to your enemy's base. So I told these guys to come around, hang out there, and continually started macroing up my army. I know it's very, very small, but I spent a lot of resources on these ravens, and also I just suck at macroing, so there's a reason for both of those. And after you get your ravens out, don't just leave your starport like I'm doing at the moment. I really should be making medvacs out of it, because every building that you make you need to put to use. Yeah, there we go. Because every building that you have should be making something, almost always. If you aren't making something with every building you have too many buildings, or you don't have enough resources, which would thereby mean you have too many buildings. So the ravens are up here now, and they're going to come around. Now they're not going to do a ton of damage. Sometimes they will during games. If somebody does not have any kind of defense, maybe if they just went ground. Oops, sorry people, that wasn't planned. Usually, back to what I was saying. Usually these things don't do a ton of damage. So basically, you run down your mineral line, or their mineral line, and you toss down as many auto turrets as you can, and then you leave. You do not want to stay around. The main thing about this is one, sometimes your enemy will pull off all their probes, which is probably what most enemies will do. This guy was smart, he did not, but most guys will just freak out and pull their probes off. Rightfully so. This guy happened to have his army positioned over here instead of over here. So then you just run. You make sure that you don't lose either of your ravens, please. Ravens are important and expensive, and you used a lot of time and effort into getting these ravens. It's kind of important that they leave A-OK, because we will use them later. So at this point, you should have at least a semi-big army. Just continually macro up, and soon you will need to leave to attack, because unfortunately, if you did it right. You shouldn't be focusing too desperately much on economy. Usually somebody will have their expansion out by now. Probably earlier than now. Probably really earlier than now if you're Zerg. But here comes my expo. But usually it's earlier than that, and if they have their expo out, that means that they're getting more minerals than you, and you need to kill them before, because you spent all of this money harassing, and it worked okay, but usually it'll work better than that. I had a lot of games that worked better than that, but I thought that this one would be the best to show just because it kind of shows how to follow up after, if the Raven Rush doesn't work exactly as planned. Alright, so your Ravens are back here. Just leave them up here. I don't know why I brought these guys back. I don't know. I'll probably end up sending them back there. I think I do, actually, because that is the next phase in our plan, but I don't know why they're down here. Why are they down here? I don't know. So I should have expanded earlier, but other than that, let's check out the harvester count. I am actually beating him on harvesters. I guess that's just because he has not been macroing like a good boy. He is also putting up photon cannons. Something to point out is after that first Raven Rush, from what I've seen, is usually one of three things happen. Sometimes a combination of those three things happen. Either A, your enemy puts up photon cannons, or spore crawlers, or anti-air turrets. If so, if it's an anti-air turret or spore crawler, that does absolutely nothing against your turrets. So just ease in there, throw them down, and leave, and those do nothing. Unfortunately, photon cannons shoot back, but I mean, a couple of turrets can actually kill a photon cannon, so don't worry about that. And then I started moving out because I knew that his army was soon to get bigger than mine, because he already has his Colossus coming out as well as Thermalance. Whew. Take a breath for a second. So basically, back to what I said. One of three things happen. Either they put down a photon cannon or some kind of thing to guard their mineral line. They position their army closer to their mineral line, which is kind of what this guy is doing. I'm not really sure why he's not holding his ramp, which is probably what he should be doing. So I'm going to be the douchebag Terran and tank walk right up to his base. For any of you who don't know what tank walking is, basically you have like 5 or 6 tanks, and you take half of them and siege them, take the other half, unsiege them, and just continually walk over there so they can continually cover each other. And he runs down into the tanks, which is not a good idea. But that is not what I want to show you guys. What I want to show you guys is this up here. One of my ravens got sniped, I believe, which is not good. I needed to keep that raven alive. But while you're fighting with the enemy down here, it's so easy to just sneak your raven back up here, because usually maps have an open space up here. If not, you should have left it there. When I took it back, I think what I meant to do was repair it, actually, but I never got around to it. But whenever this is going on, what you can do is you can sneak your raven back here, and you just toss down a couple turrets. You toss down 2 or 3, 4, as many as you can. And it is so difficult to defend on 2 fronts with an early army. Like, if you're 12, 13 minutes in, your army, if you split your army, it shouldn't be that big. You haven't had time to make a giant mob yet. So he's going to go engage this, and while that happens, come on. Well, while this happens, I shouldn't be worrying about this. I should make sure that it's going okay. There it is. I decide that it's probably best to just go down his mineral line with the turrets. And yes, this is going on. But even if I had lost this battle, which, I mean, if your enemy was pretty good, you probably would lose this battle. If he wasn't paying attention, that's almost all of his drones gone. Well, because when all the battle's going on, it's kind of hard to tell that when your mineral line's being attacked, because, it's, the game's saying you're being attacked or whatever. But you don't know from where, you're not paying attention, you're trying to micro around your units and whatnot. So by the time he looks back to go create more units, he's like, oh god, where did all my probes go? Or where did all my drones go? Or where did all my SCVs go? So, even if you lost this battle, you would win, hopefully, if you got rid of most of his probes. If he does pull them off, and you do lose the battle, then macro back up and pray that your macro is better than his. Remember to expand. I did not look at all of this beautiful juicy minerals that are not being mined. Oh well. But hopefully maybe you guys learned a bit about this. I don't know. This is just my experience from Raven rushing. I had a great time doing it. If you want, go try it out yourself. I can tell you it's a blast. I enjoyed it greatly. It's cheesing to the utmost. So thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next replay.